We are live. Welcome to a special edition, a night edition of the CK podcast here on the Basketball Zone YouTube channel. I'm with my co-host Vince Miracle, and we just saw Buddy Hield go off for 36 points on 8 of 12. Obviously, that was a clickbait title just to get you guys on, to get you guys excited. That's my boy. That's my brother, Buddy Hield, man. Appreciate everything he's done for me as a friend, and we'll break down Tyrese as well. But
whoops!
There it is. Double Leo. But yeah,
Yep,
Vince.
double Leo.
You watched the whole game. You just came off a podcast, which we'll post some segments of your podcast with a beat writer from the Indiana Pacers. What was your biggest takeaway from tonight's game?
Buddy shot that thing, but they are still no way close to being as good as the Milwaukee Bucks, obviously. I just think Buddy just had one of those games. Buddy shot that thing. He's going to get a lot of opportunity while Duarte's out.
Was he out tonight?
Yeah, Duarte's out until the All-Star break. He has a jammed toe.
Well, there it is. But Buddy Hield, again, 14 of 20, 8 of 12, 4 assists, 2 rebounds. He was bound to have a really good game because that's what he does, man.
Devin said you ruined his confidence, Leo.
The answer is no, just Hallie. Okay, so Haliburton put up a crazy stat line the other game. Tonight, he, showed who he is. A good role player. We'll talk about that because, well, we had his agent put it on Instagram that he's a franchise player. And I don't know what your guest said today, but can you kind of elaborate on what the sentiment is? Well, actually, I do know. He said he's Peyton Manning, but kind of elaborate on what he said after that.
Look, man, I mean, it was a great show. I had James Boyd from the Indy Star on my podcast, The King's Court, which you guys can find at youtube.com/SatKingsNation. And look, they basically said that they are extremely excited right now about Tyrese Haliburton in Indiana. They have, inside the organization, basically called him the Peyton Manning of their franchise. Note that Peyton Manning has a statue in Indianapolis. Like, that's how big of praise they have. They see, at least from James's point of view, it was, they think that he could be a scorer, but he just looks to pass early on so far. And I told him, like, that's arguably his biggest flaw, is that he is always looking to pass. But a lot of great stuff in there. But the big thing was that they seem to be extremely excited to play with him, the players. A lot of people are there was a play against Minnesota that he broke down for us where Haliburton threw a pass and it hit someone in the back because they didn't know that they were supposed to be looking for the ball, because they haven't had someone pass the ball the way that Haliburton does there. So like I said, they view him as the Peyton Manning. They view him as a franchise centerpiece, and that's probably why his agent is messaging stuff like that on Twitter. But yeah, it was a great show. Highly recommend it. And yeah.
So was there anything that Haliburton did tonight that shocked you, or is it pretty much what he did here in Sacramento?
I mean, he was highly efficient tonight. I mean, I think he shot 50% from the field. He had
3 of 7 from beyond the arc, 6 of 12 from the field, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, 17 points.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me, because I watched that whole game from start to finish, because I knew I was going to have James on, so I wanted to have something to talk about if anything crazy happened. It was Buddy, and the only thing he said about Buddy was, I think he's a streaky shooter, and he's right. But, I just think that he is an orchestrator. Tyrese is still going to be exactly who he's going to be moving forward. He's a great facilitator. We don't know if he can ever be a primary scorer, and we don't know if that's what he's going to be asked to do, but it sounds like, from James's perspective, and he's talking to this team, he's in Milwaukee with the Pacers right now, it seems as if that is the vibe, that they view Haliburton as that potential scoring, passing, Chris Paul franchise player. And I'm not sure that he can become that, but I'm not doubting it, because he has a very strong work ethic. And, he says that he has in the gym range now too. Like, the confidence is high. So I believe in Haliburton. I hope that Haliburton turns into everything Indianapolis believes he can be. I I think tonight was just another great Halliburton night in a loss.
What was the biggest takeaway that you took away from Halliburton writing that article in the Players Tribune? Because I know you read that from start to
Hmm.
finish.
Yeah, I for me it was just it was the first time I feel like everyone got to see the perspective of a player being traded and how you can't always view them as players. Like we discuss a trade, and you and I were on here excited, explaining like we love this trade for the Kings, and reading that article not only humanized that trade, but it also grew our love for Tyrese Haliburton in Sacramento and how much he loved being in Sacramento. Like even just the silly stuff that he tried to make it, like saying that he was ugly crying when Chimezi Metu calls him and he doesn't know if he should even be showing his face on camera to, just feeling like as soon as he heard the trade, it was that the only way he could describe it is if that moment of shock when you hear a close friend or a family member passed away. And he says it's being dramatic, but that's how he felt. He wanted to be the Chris Webber of Sacramento. Like he said all the great
That's
and
that's
wonderful
that's what
things.
stood out to me, that he wanted to be the Chris Webber, that he wanted to be the guy, and then also that he had a conversation with De'Aaron for 30 minutes. But in a way, he's kind of overlapping, right? The best player on the team. Like if it was still here, it'd be Tyrese and Fox. That's what kind of stood out to me on the personal level. Playing devil's advocate is like, oh, he wanted to be the guy, knowing that Fox and even him on multiple occasions saying that Fox was the all-star of this team and he played at all-star level. I thought that was really interesting because that dynamic is not talked about enough, but I do believe that they had a good relationship. And for someone to talk supposedly 30 minutes, according to him, about I don't know what, that's interesting because then there are speculation that Fox was sitting out to essentially highlight and highlight and feature Tyrese, right? So all these things come into play when he says that he had a conversation for 30 minutes post trade, which is fascinating to me on so many levels because he wasn't the best player on the team. And yeah, I just thought that was really interesting.
I don't think them talking has anything to do about being the best player. I mean, they had a really good relationship. Like they,
No, on
I don't
him
know if you,
saying that he was going to be like he wanted to be the Chris Webber, that he wanted to be the franchise
I,
player, like
I think by that he just wanted to be the guy that came in and changed it around. Like he wanted to be a key reason. Like even in the Chris Webber era, right? Like Chris Webber obviously was the guy. He was the 20-point scorer. He was the All Star. But I mean, even in that heyday before the acquisition of Mike Bibby, where they took that next step, they still had Jason Williams, who was a phenomenal passer and was willing to do a lot. But then to have Vlade Divac and Bobby and Doug Christie, like they made themselves a real team. And I think he wanted to be the guy that you can say, I don't think Chris Webber was the right choice of words, but I think it was just, I'm here to change the culture. I'm here to bring winning to Sacramento. I wanted to be the guy that came in and you saw me as a key reason why we started winning. Maybe he's not the best player because Chris Webber down the stretch, it's arguable that him or Peja was the best player because Peja was doing some crazy things and Webber kept getting hurt.
but Vladi
So,
to me was like the glue of that team, right?
and
He
that's probably who
was,
he would have been. That's
yeah,
probably who he would have been. But still, I mean, I think in terms of I wanted to be Chris Webber was I wanted to be the guy that came in and changed this. I was all Sacramento, and he wrote in beautiful words
right,
on that
right.
Tribune and humanized that trade and I applauded. It made me wish that trade never happened, and I love this trade for Sacramento.
it don't, it didn't make me feel that way, but I will say this: he did embody Sacramento. I said that 1,000 times. I said that when the trade happened. He's very likable, amazing human being. And yeah, like that's a sentiment that goes around with Tyrese. Infections personality, right? Very good basketball players, plays the right way. Those are all things that are very true. But I want to talk about more about the conversation you had with the beat writer for the Indiana Pacers, and it's a lot of what Sabonis and the rest of the Pacers that got traded in Justin Holiday and Jeremy Lamb, what they bring to the table. We'll have a segment of it of the pros and cons, just so people can get like the actual sayings of what's his name, James?
Yeah, James Boyd at
James
Romeoville
Boyd.
Kid on Twitter.
Right. So we'll have, verbatim what he said in an 8, 9 minute segment, probably after the show, but kind of describe and, break down what he had to say about the pros and cons of all three guys.
Well, let's start off with the wings. He said that Jeremy Lamb is very streaky,
Right.
and I think most like a lot of hoop heads know that about Jeremy Lamb. Like
But the Kings needed that last night. Like they needed a guy that can create his own shot off the bench, and that's what he
right,
does.
right. I mean, he's gonna come in there and he's your. This is the only way I can describe it for most casuals. Like he's like the Walmart version of Kelly Oubre. You know what I mean? Like he gets you buckets, but it's never really consistent. Where Kelly Oubre's energy is always going to be consistent. He
Contagious,
finds
yeah.
ways to score. You know what I mean? He says that he's always going to be mellow, and then he said Justin Holiday he had to be the guy. He had to become the starter, and he doesn't know if he's actually made for that role, but he's made to be on the court and be effective as a defender and as a shooter. He says him on catch and shoots from Sabonis are extremely good. He said even though he went through that stretch where he was missing shots to begin the season, he started picking it up. He didn't even know if Holiday was going to get traded because of how smart of a basketball the player he is defensively and how well his shooting is next to Sabonis. And then after that, it was Sabonis. And the pros and cons of Sabonis, I don't want to give too much. I want people to view the video. I want people to view the whole entire podcast in its entirety. But long story short, the Kings got that dog. He thinks that him and Fox are a really good pairing. And he thinks that if the Kings are going for the play-in and they're looking to get better right away, that Sabonis does do that. And I think that
Right.
was the biggest question mark that most fans had was they didn't think they made this team better, and it for sure did.
Let's address this real fast about Tyrese from below WC16. But it's obvious he and Hallie doesn't work. He's referring to Fox and Hallie. Fox's numbers dropped drastically when he started. I'm pretty sure everyone's numbers went down. He also eats so much shot clock running the offense, and that is from below WC 16 on Tyrese. Your thoughts on that, Vince?
I don't know. How Hallie definitely I don't think worked next to Fox, but not for the reasons that you said. I think Fox is just a guy who's always had the basketball in his hands, and I've been talking about it recently on this podcast, on my own, and everywhere I go that I've guested on. It's just from the day he started playing basketball to the moment he got that max contract, he was a point guard that had the ball in his hands the entire time. And this year, to start the year, because of how well Haliburton started playing, it was I need you to learn how to be a shooting guard and play more off ball, and I need you to shoot more 3-pointers. And I think with De'Aaron Fox, his 3-point shot improved last season because he got to find that jumper off the dribble. I mean, look at the move he did to LaMarcus Aldridge, and then finding that jump shot in rhythm. It looked fluid. Like his mechanics look good as a shooter. And I just don't think he's a catch and shoot 3-point shooter. Maybe from the corner, he can build that confidence to be that again. I still don't understand why he takes a dribble every time he's wide open before he shoots. I feel like that completely ruins his jumper.
Yeah.
But the mechanics look fine. It's just a confidence thing. We've been talking about that for a while. But I just think you took the ball out of this man's hands, and that's what made him struggle. For Haliburton, I think Halliburton's just one of those guys that needs the ball in his hands as well. And
Yep.
that's why they didn't work and why I really enjoyed and loved this trade when I heard the news that we got the Jokic of the East and DeMontis Sabonis in Sacramento.
And Joseph says, F no, we don't need Buddy. Is this his question? Again, just for the people that are tuning in now, it was just for clickbait. I love Buddy, but at the end of the day, I believe he was checked out from the Kings mentally, and a new scenery needed to happen for both the Kings and Buddy Hield. Now, if the Kings didn't have Buddy Hield, and you're looking at the roster construction of this team, right? Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, in theory, his skill set, right? Like a Joe Harris, like a Duncan Robinson, they fit with what the Kings are trying to do here. But because he has history, but because he in a way had a failed tenure his last 2.5 years. Not all his fault. Some of it his fault, but a lot of it because of coaching changes, etc. It was time. It was time for the Kings to move on from Buddy Hield. So that is that. Again, it was supposed to be clickbait. Just letting you guys know. Just so you guys can tune in tonight on a
By the way, welcome to the show.
on a late Tuesday night, February 15th, on my 9-year anniversary.
Congrats to you, Maggie.
And again, I'm having a boy. For the people that that were asking about the gender reveal, if you guys didn't check that out, so I'm super blessed, super excited for that, guys.
Pod's
Vince,
going up on
yes,
a
sir.
Tuesday.
And make sure you guys hit the like or dislike, whatever you guys feel. If you do feel it was disrespect, if you felt disrespected for the title, that's okay, man. Both the like and dislike work equally for the YouTube algorithm. So make sure you slap those two buttons. Fox is not Harden, thank God, but the Kings are getting faster. Now, what do you think he means by that?
I think he thinks that we're pushing the pace more, and I actually tend to disagree. I just think that the Kings' offense is way more fluid. It's not one dimensional. It's not pick and roll with one player, look
Right.
for the open shooter, or isolate. And it's more of pick and roll. If that's not there, pass it back to the big man, dribble handoff. If that's not there, Sabonis can finish around the rim for the easy one. Fox can get to his spot in the mid range. There, you're gonna have to rely on Holiday, DiVincenzo, and the rest of the guys. Not. I just feel like they're running more of a fluid offense, a more, I guess fundamental offense as well, where it's not always like. When's the last time you heard push the pace, space and pace, all the good stuff like that? You haven't really been hearing that anymore. Now it's, the ball seems stagnant. When was that ever an issue for the King? That's always been the issue the entire time. Now you guys are wanting to ask questions about it because it's, wow, the Kings have been moving this ball. It's not that they've been playing fast, it's that the ball's been moving and they've been playing a more fundamental offense. People are cutting to the basket and a big man is giving them a bounce pass to finish around the rim.
Right.
It's beautiful basketball.
It truly is. Devin says, I thought this conversation was about Buddy. And real quick about Buddy Hield, both Vince and I have been very adamant about if you put him in the right situation, on the right team, say a guy like LeBron James, who really regretted making that trade for Westbrook because he already had the deal done for Buddy, and then they try to trade Westbrook for Buddy Hield, which I thought was hilarious, by the way, how the Athletic came out with those news, and I was like, gosh diggity, this is where the Lakers are at. So they went from winning the championship in the bubble, right, with no fans. I thought was not asterisk championship because players play better with no pressure.
They got all that rest
yeah,
before the bubble.
and so they went from being a mess to winning the championship. They went from being a mess and making the trade to winning the championship to now being a mess once again and making bad decisions. And I thought it was interesting to see what, I forgot who said it, but how the Lakers had a chance to trade for John Wall and Christian Wood, and they told LeBron,
Eric Gordon,
no, we're not going to trade nothing for you, buddy. We just don't think we're good enough. Whether we get Eric Gordon, Christian Wood, John Wall, this team isn't good enough. And for the first time in his career, that was crazy. And for the first time in his career, he doesn't have the player option because he signed long-term with the Lakers. So he has no leverage for the first time. And I think this whole thing, as a Kings fan, I am very happy in a very, very ruthless way. So the Lakers had to come to him. No. But yes, I think Buddy in the right situation would really be like that super role player that I think that he could have been with the Kings if they had just set him up for success.
Say it with your chest, Leo.
Facts.
You wish Buddy didn't get traded.
No, I'm glad he got traded. No, I'm glad he got traded, man. No, I do because I understood, where he was at currently. I love Hallie, but I still don't get why fans are acting like he was going to save our franchise. Everyone seemed a bit too sentimental about it. for a second-year player. I agree 1,000%, and that's exactly
Yeah.
what I was saying, and I couldn't agree more. But yeah,
If you had the clip, I would say just watch the stock video because you sold on the upside of what you could see. I mean, we all see the potential that Halliburton has. I love the upside. Leo's not as high, maybe as much most of us are of
I just
what
think
he
Fox
can
has
be.
more upside. Period.
I mean I don't know. I think that there's definitely I don't know what the ceiling is for Halliburton yet. I think that and I really know that I'm not gonna get anywhere higher over De'Aaron Fox unless I know that 3-point shot is gonna at least go back to where it was last season. So I need to see him get back to there before I say his ceiling is higher. But with that being said, man, I just think you sell potential. You sell the word potential, and you locked in a legit 2-time All Star that's only 25 years old. And what other 25-year-old 2-time All Star could you have gotten for just a second-year player? Get off $40 million and Buddy Hield, who continued to have buddy blunders, didn't want to be in Sacramento anymore. Give up absolutely no picks and add wing depth with 3 and D players. Like the trade is 100% made sense for both sides, and it clearly helps the Kings get better immediately where the Pacers are ready to rebuild.
Seabass is in the house. He says, "Are you guys live?" Duh. He says, "Yo, Vince, what's up? Was the crowd place that you went to good? It was good. It was in Rancho Cordova, by the way. Is Seabass happy with the trade? Uh, who knows with that guy? But Hallie and Fox will battle, and
He
I
is happy with the
think
trade. I joined his podcast. I joined his podcast on Saturday.
Hallie and Fox will battle, and I think it will be more person. It will be a personal than a team challenge. That is funny, man. Again, for the people watching, 40 people watching, make sure you like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Vince, let's talk about what the sentiment was yesterday, real quick, just to address some of the things that Kings fans were told by the media, obviously, us being part of the media as well, but how we kind of differ from a lot of people. I broke it down yesterday talking about this false narrative that there wasn't ball movement yesterday. And again, I got slammed for $600, right? I thought they'd win the game. I had them plus 5.5, plus 14.5. Didn't happen. Parlayed them with the Warriors, who got destroyed as well. And I still believed, and even though they lost, Vince, it was like I wasn't like angry about it because I understood that on 9 out of 10 nights, you're not gonna shoot 34% when you get the quality of shots that they got. And I feel like a lot of people just see it as a results thing, like, oh, they had 12 assists, but they didn't pay attention to the process of how they got these shots.
Yeah, no, I think I don't understand the narrative of the Kings were extremely stagnant. They definitely stagnated at
Sure,
the end, at the very
every
end, like in
game is
that
like
fourth
that
quarter,
though.
and
Every NBA
and
game.
right when they got down by like 13, 14 points, and it was 3 minutes left or whatever,
Sure.
the ball definitely did stagnate. I'm not gonna say it was perfect all the way through, but man, that ball was moving around. The sets that they were running, they were actually trying to run plays after only one real practice. One real practice. They were running some like that play that you broke down that we discussed earlier before going live,
Right.
where DiVincenzo gets a handoff, stops at like just above the free throw line.
Dante flashes to the middle, right? That's
Yes.
that's after you get like a strong side dribble handoff. Then he flashes. There's so much movement going on both the weak side and the strong side, and yeah, it was
Holmes giving
unbelievable.
that backside screen so that Holiday can get down to that corner. And before he's even in the corner, Dante's turning and throwing the pass. You have to see the difference between a set play pass and a like, oh, accidental in the moment pass. That was a set play coming off of
A
horrible
challenge.
a challenge, and
Yeah.
it looked beautiful, and it luckily it resulted in that open three that did go in. But there was other ones where
Sabonis
Sabonis with
behind the
some
back. Oh
I don't
my.
even want to talk about that. I want to just talk about the ones that he got down to Mo Harkless just on just like a nice up down bounce pass and missed layup after missed layup, open threes. Again, the game wasn't perfect by any means. I
Right.
think there was a lot of the times where they let Seth stay hot. They did not go over too many screens. They kept going under, and he punished them for it. And when you let a Curry get hot, you see what happens. And I mean, it's also a game.
But
And I
Fox
think
played
you
harder
talked
on
about
defense, though. I think
his
Curry just
closeouts are
had
just so bad right now. His closeout on threes is out. His on ball defense was very active. He was chasing Curry. He stayed to his hip as best he
right.
could around those screens. I give him credit for that. I'm talking about off of rebounds and going for
Yes,
closeouts.
yes,
He is
yes.
one of the laziest players
He's
on the
lazy.
court.
He's like
Yeah.
he's
I think
lazy.
it's because
Yeah,
I think it's because
he's
he's
tired.
hoping for the miss. No, I think it's because he's hoping for the miss so he can break out for the fast because he now knows that that's there. Or before in the past, he's just so used to no help and quitting, and that's a problem. Like that needs to be addressed because you can't have that down the stretch when you're still down only 2 games for that final play-in spot. You want to see your star player. I mean, look at a guy like Giannis today. He dove on the floor. They're up by 13, dove on the floor to save the ball from going out of bounds, and then when they get up the floor, they call a timeout. Like
Baby steps, Vince. I
it's true, baby steps. I'm
I
just saying,
think Fox is
I'm not always gonna be
re-engaged.
positive. No,
No,
yeah,
no,
I
that's
agree.
100%. Like his closeouts are trash. Like they're
Yes,
to me, he's capable of doing it though. Like that's where we kind of differ. Where I'm like, when I talk about upside with him and Halliburton, Fox is capable of doing all these things. Like he's not limited athletically. Like he's not limited from an IQ point. It's just a matter of him actually doing it at a consistent rate because we've seen him do it. We've seen him in his first 3 years. And the biggest game to me that stands out is again that I was at Heat versus Kings in Miami on the road. He literally shut down Goran Dragic, won them the game. Like him by himself, he got like 3 steals in the last 3 minutes of the game. And I remember like the special effects that we put on that dunk and how he had that game-winning dunk. He's done it before to where when he's engaged defensively, he's a monster, man. So that's where I differ and what my interpretation of upside is. Halliburton is limited to me. De'Aaron Fox isn't. And that's the biggest difference for me. Maybe not
yeah,
for you, maybe not for some fans, but I know that De'Aaron Fox is 25 points guaranteed without a jump shot. If you add a jump shot to that, well, you know what you're going
that's
to get.
crazy. Don't even bring this up because we'll get into some Ben Simmons conversation if you say he's
I love
25
Ben.
without a
I
jump
love
shot.
Ben Simmons though. I
Get
love Ben
the
Simmons.
get the F
Is,
word
is,
up out of
is he
here,
not though?
boy.
Is he not 25
I'm
without?
telling you this right now. If Ben Simmons was on this team, he would be 25 without a jump shot too. I'm just saying, like, let's pump. Okay, anyways,
20
I'm,
points. 20 points. Yeah, I don't know about 25. I don't know about 25.
okay. But no,
20
I
is
will say
fair.
this: ever since he got the ball put back in his hands, you've definitely seen the excitement level of a De'Aaron Fox. And I mean, look at his scoring: 29, 27, 26, and 26. There hasn't been really many steals, so if those people are thinking that steals equal defense, I disagree. I don't think he needs to get steals to be a good defender. That's
100%.
why I continue to bring up the closeouts and the consistent effort, which he did do in this Brooklyn game. He tried to set the tone defensively by
He did.
chasing around Seth. But look, I mean, even Davion Mitchell was going under screens, and I think the game plan against Seth was just wrong, and he got hot. Seth got hot on his new team, and it paid off. So
And the
kudos to
Kings
him.
cannot have, they don't have the luxury to take out Fox and Bones and Harrison Barnes and not have either of those guys on the floor for any amount of time, which is a huge mistake, Vince. I thought coaching was really bad, and that was the one thing that worries me in terms of them getting the 10 seed this year. But this is a great question here. And this triggers something else that I saw today because I actually bet on the game, which is the T-Wolves and the Hornets. But it's if the Kings do not make the playoffs in the next 2 years, is a trade a failure? It's a great question because I,
Great question.
I want to repose a question to every fan watching this, and then we'll watch this after. And is a D'Angelo Russell trade to the T-Wolves a failure? Because they are now, this season, seeing the fruits of a deal that was made almost 2 years ago. Like no playoffs, right? The first year, no playoffs the second year, and now you're starting to see oh my God, like this pick and roll with Cat and D'Lo and the scoring ability on all three levels from Ant is really looking
Ant changed that game.
good,
Ant
right?
changed their whole game.
But it took time. I'm not trying to allude to excuses for the Kings. I think they'll make the playoffs next year, but it's my whole point to say everything is to say this. It takes time. So, you know, I want you guys to think about that. Like, was it worth the T Wolves giving up that much equity and draft compensation for D'Lo? And you can go ahead and kind of answer both questions. So this question and then like the repose question.
Okay, so let's. Since this is a Kings podcast, I'll save that one for last. To answer your question first, uh, you know, there was a lot of debate on if they were going to trade D'Angelo Russell this year, but before they started getting hot, like before they started playing up to their potential. And I still think that they're missing a Jeremy Grant type of player there as well. Like a lot of teams can use a Jeremy Grant, right? A lot of contenders can use a Jeremy Grant, but I think the T Wolves is definitely one. Even though McDaniels has played well for them, and as well as
He's
what's the
nice.
what's the other guy's name that they have over there
That
as
guy
well?
is long, athletic. What the hell's his name? The guy that played with
Vanderbilt,
Fox.
Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt. Yeah.
Dude,
That's
he's
like
good too.
Fox's homie.
Yeah, so I like what the Wolves have done. I like that they added Patrick Beverley, and I think that he brought a type of mindset, and I think that's why they extended him for another year to see if they can keep this growing. And yeah, I think there is something to the counter of this, which is going to bring a lot of like Halliburton fans back, which is, sometimes continuity and just staying with the team and building with the team makes you better. And you did that with best friends. Like Kat and D'Angelo Russell were known as being best friends. They've been wanting to play together. And then you got a superb talent in Anthony Edwards, and he has changed their entire game. But at the same time, I talk to a lot of beat writers for the Timberwolves. One of them is like a really good friend of mine. I talk to him every single day. He lives out there in Minnesota and covers this team. And he says that there's a lot of frustration amongst Minnesota T-Wolves fans of Karl Anthony Towns, which is very surprising to me as someone that's
He's a
very
monster tonight. Oh
yeah,
my God.
but but yeah, long story short, I would say yes or no, that trade was not a failure because of the patience that they had. Now, to answer this question, which is, would the Kings trade be a failure in 2 years? Do you think Tyrese Haliburton changes the Indiana Pacers into becoming a playoff contender in 2 years? Would be
No.
my counter. No, right? So that's all you really. So in 2 years, if the Kings didn't make the playoffs, the Pacers haven't really done anything. The Kings didn't give up their future. They still have picks. So no, I think that they finally said, we're going to build a team for Fox. Like you said, this is the best player in Sabonis that Fox has ever had. Away, like Halliburton was the next on that list. And I remember when the Kings first got Fox and how much he was the Sacramento darling. Remember a lot of conversation was, man, what if he would have played with a guy like Cousins? Like, what if Fox and Cousins would have
Yep.
been a duo? You're seeing it. This is what it would look like right here. And yeah, I don't think it would be a failure. I definitely think it would be disappointing though. But at least they'd still have two building blocks. In 2 years, they're only 26 and 27 years old.
That's crazy.
It's not like they're in their peaks.
and
So
that's
I say no.
entering that's like entering their prime, right? Like
Yeah.
that's crazy. Hallie had no good on ball defense. I've been saying that for forever, and I don't think it would have developed because he had a hard time staying from the players. Yeah, and that's one of the things where, as Vince said about 10 minutes ago, a lot of fans associate steals with good defense, and that's just not the truth. Like, just because you get steals does not make you a good defender. Look at Rajon Rondo.
Look at Davion Mitchell. He averages less steals than Tyrese
Tyrese,
Haliburton, and
yeah.
Davion Mitchell is a dog defensively.
Right. Right. I agree 1,000% with that. Keen says, honestly, the free flow of offense may just create natural on-ball movement. If you guys want to call in, you guys can. I know Bass wanted to call in.
He just wants to talk about how I got drunk on Saturday watching the Tai Tuivasa fight and doing
That's
shoeys at my
funny.
house, and
No,
I joined his live Facebook feed.
Also, one thing that I wanted to address again, we kind of touched on the narrative that the Kings didn't have good shots because they had 12 assists. That's not the truth because both Sabonis and Fox both said we just missed shots, right? And we both, Vince and I, feel like they had quality shots. Not the perfect game, obviously, but definitely a step in the right direction. Because this loss felt different. Because obviously they lost by what, 24, but the last 3 minutes was like 12-0 run with bench players. So that kind of skewed the final result of the game. I know because because I bet the damn game. So they didn't even cover 14 and a half, which is crazy. But tomorrow is a huge game. We'll be live at Medici, Sacramento. That is on K Street across the Golden One Center. We're having the watch party. We'll have the live scoreboard exactly like this, right? Just a live scoreboard. We'll be watching the game in a way, doing play-by-play, just giving analysis, not play-by-play, but like close to it, and just at the pizza shop. And then after the game, it's one stream, and it's just our analysis after the game as well. If you guys want to chime in,
Look,
come
I'll
to the
even throw this.
restaurant, go ahead.
I'll even do this for the live stream tomorrow. I need to 100% confirm with the wife. Is she's already asleep, but 98% sure I'm going. When I go, I'll bring two Sac Kings Nation sweaters.
Boom.
There you go. We'll give two away to fans that listen to the show.
Davion Mitchell is developing quickly. He's starting to look more comfortable out there. And that's another variable to all this, right? Which is no Haliburton means more minutes for Davion Mitchell. He's looking nice off of three-point shooting catches. I think, actually, let me show you what he's done the last 10 games. Obviously, some of those games were with Tyrese, but the last 10 games, 39.1% from beyond the arc, 40% on pull-up threes, 38.6% on catch and shoot three-point shots. It's pretty impressive, Vince.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Davion. That was another thing that you guys had to think about with this Haliburton trade is it allowed for more minutes to be had for Davion, where he's not just playing third fiddle, getting 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes here or there. You actually get to see him develop and see what you have in Davion Mitchell. The Kings were crowded at the guard spot. Their best position was the guard spot, and they were crowded in it, and you didn't know which one you were going to see go off on any given night because and the best part about Mitchell is he's okay not having the ball in his hands. Have you seen his catch and shooting ability over this 10-game stretch that you just announced? Like, his ability on catch and shoots, if he can develop that, man, he is going to be a very special, and again, a 4-year college player that showed development every year that he was in college, and now he's just showing more development with more time on the NBA floor. You have to be excited as a Kings fan to see what he's developing into. Just to even if he can take a 10% leap more, you're looking at a for sure starter next to De'Aaron Fox, and I don't even think that's going to be an issue. Even though Fox would technically be listed as a shooting guard, he'd be the point guard because Davion Mitchell's catch and shooting ability and the defense that he can bring to the perimeter. But I like him off the bench, though. I really like him off the bench. Hey, there's two of me.
There's two of you. There's two of you.
Hey, I'm famous out here, bro. Look out.
Let me see.
What are you trying to do? Add a phone call?
Yeah. Let me add Seabass. There he is. Seabass. What's up, big dog?
What's up? Can you guys hear me
in
pretty
your
well?
car and always seeing half your face. What's up, buddy?
I know. Well, on my end, you could see my whole face plus some, but that's okay. All you need is eyes, I guess.
I only saw when I watched that video again. All I saw when I remember, I was only seeing your eyes then too. But it's okay. What's up, buddy?
That's okay. Yeah, I just want to clarify my stance real quick on the trade. I don't know if you understood me the other day when we talked, Vince, but
I didn't. You're gonna have to remind me.
It was a little bit of Coors Light that night.
a little bit more than. I'll be honest. Before the Coors Light, there was a lot more than just Coors Light. But yeah, you're right. You're right.
But as I was saying, I could tell because I'm a Uber driver, and I could usually tell after about 30 seconds or a minute, when people are a little bit, But anyhow, my stance is basically, high or under the influence, let us say.
No, I don't do that. I don't do that, but I do. I was definitely
It doesn't matter. Leah, well, you gotta see the video. It's hilarious. You could definitely tell it's not the usual Vince. But anyhow, I don't want to embarrass you that much.
No, it's okay.
But
I
I
don't get
just want
embarrassed,
to
bro. I
kind of
joined you for a reason. I was having fun. It's okay. I joined you for a reason.
okay. I know. It actually made it all the more better.
Yeah,
But anyways,
I hope I didn't ruin it for you guys. Honestly, because
no,
I was having a
you
good time.
made it awesome.
All right,
You made
Lopez,
it
go ahead, make your point.
so so one thing we're trying to discuss is, do I approve or disapprove the trade? And I don't have a yes or no answer. Because first of all, let me admit that the Kings are drastically a better team. I mean, it's like night and day.
Right.
I think we went from the worst team in the West to one of the top teams in the West.
Wow.
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 You also said
That's
that Tyrese
crazy.
was better than Chris Paul, so I don't know how much validity there is to that.
Well, but no, I would say, oh yeah, I definitely put Tyrese up there with Chris Paul.
You said
But
he's better than Chris Paul. That's blasphemous to
we'll
even
see.
say he's up there
We'll
with
see.
him.
Chris Paul has had a great long career. We'll see. But anyways, let me clarify my stance. My stance is this. Yes, I wanted to keep Haliburton under like almost any cost. If it came down to it where we couldn't make the trade unless we gave up Haliburton, I would be either on the fence or maybe a 51-49 self vote
And
to do
that's
the
why you're
trade.
not the GM, but go
But
ahead.
but no, that's why I could be a great GM. But here's the thing. But here's the thing. You'll never be able to judge a GM properly on this because we as fans don't really know the inside in terms of what offers were made and rejected and how it was done. This is all negotiation.
You wasn't
This
going to get
is all
somebody
it
better
is.
than Sabonis. Go ahead.
No, no. The point is, yes, I wanted Sabonis. I said I wanted Sabonis before the trade, but what I'm also saying is I would have tried to keep Haliburton at all costs. I would have expounded.
Would you have given up 4 first-round picks to the Pacers?
Ugh. um.
Yes or no?
Wow. You know, I don't have a yes or no for that.
It's not just
you
so
know what?
yes
It's
or
part
no,
of
Leah. It's also
negotiation.
black and white, Leah.
That's it.
4 picks
It's
is
not.
maybe 3. Maybe 3.
Would you have given 3? He's doing
Okay. Let me get. Okay.
Oh.
Well, look. The point is, we're trying to negotiate to keep Tyrese and to get Sabonis. So all you're doing is you're trying to negotiate, obviously giving up the least, and they're trying to get the most. So
Duh.
it's hard. What I'm saying, duh. Okay, so what I'm saying is, it's hard for me to judge um, McNair or to judge any GM whether they made the right move or not because you don't know what else was on the table. Take for instance, case in
What we
point.
do know is that Fox was offered. I mean, we can go off what has been already reported
Well,
and
how
the
do
little
we?
insight that we do
Uh,
know. It was reported by multiple different outlets that De'Aaron Fox was rejected in the offer initially, that they didn't want him. And I think the big thing there was just the fact that De'Aaron Fox is about to be turning 25 years old, and that didn't match with their timeline as
And that
Halliburton's
he
what,
was a max
21.
player,
And he's
which
just got maxed out. So they already have a maxed out player in Brogdon who they couldn't even trade until next season, and we're gonna see where that goes.
but they're
So
trying to
and
paint it as like they wanted him because he's a better player, but that's not the case though. They wanted him because they're resetting the button in terms of
full reset.
full reset. It would have been
And
lateral
Halliburton is a
to
building
go
piece.
Fox for Sabonis, which would have been stupid for both parties, honestly.
I would have done Fox for Sabonis.
No,
Definitely.
no, you would have, but the Pacers were trying to hit a full reset.
Right. I know. And that's why I admitted that also, if I were the Pacers GM, I wouldn't do this trade unless I got Tyrese.
Exactly.
Right.
So I
And
mean,
the,
I'm
and,
saying I understand both sides of it, you know.
Right, and
I
that's
don't
why I
just
said
look
that
at
that's been my biggest argument the entire time is the national media continues to try and hate on the Kings And I was the very first one that said I love this deal for the Kings because they got off that $40 million that's still owed to Buddy Hield. I hated that contract just because of the fact that Buddy continued to digress, and you can tell he didn't want to be here anymore. I think he's paid exactly what he needs to be paid. So I want to make that clear. He's worth the money, but it's not worth it in Sacramento when he shows he doesn't want to be here. His effort is inconsistent, and all he wanted to do was shoot. He would have wide open lanes, and he would stop and take a mid-range jumper because he just wants to shoot the basketball. And that didn't fit here. So you get off $40 million in that. You traded upside, the word upside and the word potential, because that's what you said. The upside and potential. He could be Chris Paul. He could be this. He could be maybe all that stuff. You sold that away. You traded it. And in return, you got a two-time All-Star that's in the same timeline as the player you just maxed out 2 years ago and said that you gave the franchise keys to, and also got wing depth that with 3-and-D players and a second-round pick. And you got to keep your first-round pick. You sold high on a stock, and you bought low on another one in Sabonis, and he's a really good basketball player.
No, I don't doubt that. But what I'm also saying
that's what I'm judging McNair on, though.
I don't think as fans we could really judge because you're talking about, Fox was offered and they rejected. I don't know as a fan if I could, fully trust in a rumor per se. But I also want to pull up the case in point of what happened a few years ago when Vlade Divac said that he had a better offer on the table before. So what I'm saying is we don't really know.
That was a joke, by the way.
I don't know if that was a joke or not. Most of us take that literally. I don't know. But we don't know,
So there's people there.
Oh no, we thought that was Drummond's. That the Kings were offered Drummond, I think.
No,
that's what.
No.
But again, this is all rumors. So the thing is, how are we supposed to base stuff on rumors? We as fans will really never know. We will never know what was offered and what was negotiated, et cetera, et cetera. So it's hard for me to judge McNair or any GM.
So
you can judge them though based on the offer that is already based on the trade that has been done, and that's what I continue to do. Instead of going off of, man, we should have done this, we should have done that. I've always said I love the trade for Sacramento because of the reasons I just gave you. You can't say I don't judge on what ifs, and I don't judge on what could be's. I judge it on what is happening, and that's what I'm saying. The potential, he could be amazing. I'm selling high on potential. I'm buying low on the team is losing and he's averaging 25 and 12 and it's not helping the team. Let me buy that then. Let me see what that does. Because he was an all-star 2 years ago and he has team holding fourth place in the Eastern Conference until he lost Malcolm Brogdon and Karis LeVert at the same time. Still made it into the play-ins without going all the way out of it. That was Sabonis.
Right.
So I bought low on that stock and sold high on a second-year player.
All I'm saying is if we could have kept Tyrese and gotten Sabonis, I would have done it. But I don't know if that could have been done. And I even
did you dislike the trade? Is what we were asking. Did you dislike it because of the trade?
I admit. Here, listen. Well, I don't want to go in circles too much. I wanted to keep Tyrese and get Sabonis, but I also admit from the other perspective that Indiana likely would not have done the trade unless they got Tyrese.
Correct.
Perfect.
So it goes both ways. Okay.
All right, buddy.
Nonetheless.
Well, I appreciate you, Seabass. Let's get someone else on.
I told you I'd join your show, brother. Thanks for joining on here.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right, so let's put the link back in. If Keen wants to get in, go ahead. Link is in the comment box. No, that ain't even Buddy's career. We good. Okay. I'd start Fox and Dante and then Davion as a sixth man. How do you feel about that, Vince?
Conversation. That's a great conversation. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I want to answer it right away because I want to hear your thoughts first. Like, what is your ideal? This could even be a snippet because I feel like this is very debatable depending on who you talk to or what outlet you go to right now. But what is your ideal lineup for the Sacramento Kings? Closing lineup. Closing and starting.
Well, I'm not going to start Davion, but closing, definitely have Davion out there. Definitely have Dante out there. So Dante, it's a small lineup, but Dante.
What closing lineup is this?
Closing lineup is Dante, Fox, Davion as your wings. and then Harrison Barnes and Sabonis. For those 5.
Okay, and then what's your starters?
Justin Holiday, Harrison Barnes, Sabonis with Dante and with Fox. That's what I think will be at the after the All-Star break, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's gonna always be a toss up between DiVincenzo and Justin Holiday, and until DiVincenzo can knock down that three and
You
find it.
start Mo Harkless over Justin Holiday?
No. I'm talking about like as a starter or as a closer. Like for me, like that's the coin flip for me because like I like
So do you not
DiVincenzo.
start Dante over Harkless then? I mean, that's the real question.
Yeah, that's literally what I'm saying right now. Is like I don't know, like I don't starting or because I love Davion Mitchell as the sixth man. I love him as
Well,
a
me
sixth
too.
man. Like,
That's my point. So it's
like
either
I'm with
you
you.
start. So we have all our pieces now. So we got
Yeah,
Harrison at the 4.
that's happening. Sabonis at
Domas
the
at the
five happening.
5, Fox at
Fox
the
is one.
point,
Yeah,
and the
so
only
it's just the other
question
two.
mark is either if you start Metu or if you start Holmes, you start Harkless, or you
Do
start
you like the
Dante.
Metu starting? Do you like Metu starting?
No,
What about Trey Lyles? Do you think he should get run?
no. I
So
think once Jeremy Lamb comes back next game because of his ankle thing, like you have to have all these wings playing, and then there's a question for Josh Jackson playing as
I was
well.
literally gonna ask you,
So
what's your thought on
it's
Josh Jackson giving the
right.
shot?
So
Getting the shot.
that's why I believe you start Dante, and you have a bunch of wings coming in the game with Davion Mitchell and so your 2 main guys off the bench is Davion Mitchell, Rashawn Holmes. Those are guarantees. 6th and 7th, however you want to split those up. Who are the ancillary pieces around those 2 guys? You now have wing depth, right? Role players.
But you want shooting next to Fox, and that's why I think you start Holiday. Just the career shooter that he is. So you
Right.
have to start
That's why
Holiday,
I
right?
started Dante and Holiday. I'm not starting I'm not starting Harkless.
You're not starting Harkless or Metu.
No, I'm starting Dante, Justin Holiday, De'Aaron Fox, Harrison Barnes, and Sabonis. I mean, that's my starting 5.
That's a good starting five right there. That's not bad. I mean, and then
Justin
okay,
is locked in. Like Justin is my locked in
yeah, I
guard
like.
wing. Like it
He
just
has to. He
he
has
has to
to.
start.
So then off the bench you have Davion,
Yes, Rashawn.
Rashawn. Are you starting? Are you gonna have TD when he comes back, or if he comes back?
He's not coming back this year.
You know that for a fact.
Yeah. So you have Jeremy Lamb now, right?
Okay, so Jeremy Lamb's for sure in there.
Jackson,
I don't know if he's for sure in there.
Lyles, and Mo Harkless.
So off the bench would be Davion, Lamb for sure, Holmes for sure.
Yep, that's 3.
I think for Gentry, Harkless for sure. That's 4. And then is that going to be Metu or is that going to be Lyles? I think that's the real. I don't think Jackson gets any run,
Wow,
but I
that's
think
crazy.
he needs to. That's what I was going to ask you. I was like, do you think he gets an opportunity? Because if they're starting Metu, I think you should consider the idea of starting Josh Jackson.
Oof.
Consider the idea. Look, I mean, when he was getting starter minutes for Detroit, it's inconsistent, but so is that entire position between Harkless, Metu, and him. Now, the counter to that would be the
Trey
most
Lyles.
consistent player is Trey Lyles, and he also has a jump shot, not only from the side, but from that top corner. But his defense is bad.
And it's all these question marks that they're all like right there, right? Like they're all mediocre players, but they're like now you can exponentially maximize them and optimize them the right way. It's just a matter of fit and chemistry between these guys. But I think your top 8 guys are set in stone, right?
Yeah, so then let me ask you this. Kings don't make the play-in.
Right.
Or they, even if they do, they get taken out. They're a top 10 pick. You trade top 10 pick this year and Rashawn Holmes, maybe,
For a starting
right?
wing, yes.
For a Jeremy Grant or
Yes.
find a way to get a deal like that. I still think that there's a way because I don't know if Drummond is really the answer. We'll find out during the Nets run. But man, a real clean idea for me because now they got Seth Curry. Is Joe Harris available? And can you get Rashawn Holmes for Joe Harris? Because
I mean,
Seth
that would
Curry is
be
a
a
wet ball.
dream. Like, that would be a
That
dream.
I'll give up the number 10 Rashawn Holmes
Oh,
for Joe Harris and just a nice oh man, just Kessler Edwards maybe, like honestly, like something little like that. That just makes sense to me. It would make the Kings so much better because then you move Dante back to the bench role, or you move Holiday back to the bench role, and then that just elevates the team with versatility.
I do think defensively, Halliburton and Sabonis would have been a bad pairing. And if I'm being completely honest, and WC16 agrees with me. Um,
I just think I mean I think you're hating on Halliburton's defense. I think Halliburton is just not one of those on ball defenders. He's really not. He's not really. He's never going to be able to one on one anybody.
but if you're
He's
gonna
more of like
criticize
a
Fox for closeouts, you got to do the same for Halliburton.
no. But this is what I'm about to say. Like his biggest problem is that he is just never going to be able to do that. But what he is good at is staying in the passing lanes and not necessarily taking risk, just knowing when it's there. Like you never really see him take a chance on making the steal. He just knows when the steal is available and goes for it, and you have to applaud him for that knowledge. I mean, he's a high basketball IQ player, but he's always looking to make the run. And it's the same thing I say with Fox. It's like it's at times lazy defense. You know, it's just I just think you're saying that he's not a good defender at all. And I don't think that's 100% true. I just don't think he's a good on-ball defender. Where I think Fox is a good on-ball defender, but his help side defense and his recovery on a closeout is booty. Like, it sucks. And the same thing can be said for Halliburton's on-ball. You go one-on-one against Halliburton, you're getting a bucket on him for sure.
His post defense is bad.
Yes. So is Fox's.
Um,
Fox's post defense is so questionable.
it's
His
better
post
though.
defense is
It's
well
it's
because he's
better
stronger.
because he's stronger,
than,
right?
yeah, but he's still. I mean, if I'm stronger than somebody else, of course my post defense is gonna look better. It doesn't mean I'm good at post defense. You know what I mean? It's just he's stronger. That's it. They're both horrible down the post. They are so ready to just try and grab a rebound and go. But that's where you at least you have pieces around you that are gonna make you be a professional. Going back to my podcast, I asked directly, and it's about to be a clip that I'm snipping out here, is because the Kings have been soft. Like everyone knows it. Did the Kings acquire dogs in this trade for Sabonis, a Holiday, and Jeremy Lamb? And his number one thing was he is a dog. Like this guy is a real dog. And they're talking about Sabonis. And they said that Justin Holiday's mind thinks differently defensively. And that whole conversation is about to be cut, and it's going to be its own side piece video that I'm making right now. But I'm telling you guys, go check out that podcast, youtube.com/SatKingsNation. Subscribe, hit that like button, keep us growing. We're almost at 200 subscribers, and we just started, so let's go.
Well, that's going to do it, y'all. We'll post our video right now. Tomorrow, if you guys want to join us live at Medici Sacramento watch party, gonna be fun. You know, giving you that insight, play-by-play / analysis during the game. We'll have a live scoreboard. At least I'll try to figure out the logistics of that. Hopefully soon.
Just go on the NBA app thing, like where you can have like the the little.
That's what I was thinking.
The shot chart. That's it. That's all you got.
That's what I was thinking.
Yahoo it shot chart. It might be delayed from what we're actually seeing, but at least fans will have a perspective of what we're talking about.
Correct. Screen share that. I think. Well, let's address his last thing just to give him some good comment, because WC16 has some good insight. The weaknesses of Hallie's defense is bad for what Sabonis' weaknesses on defense. I agree. Since it will allow guards to drive inside the paint, and it could put Sabonis in foul trouble versus Fox. Back close out the three. So what he's saying is you'll give up the three, then give up Sabonis going to the bench. It's a great point.
I mean, yeah, but we say that, and
Gentry still takes him out. Gentry still took out Sabonis yesterday. I don't know why
he's only playing 25 minutes. He better never play 25 minutes again when he only has 3 fouls in the third quarter. I don't know what happened there, but when Fox closes out that week and the shooter doesn't shoot, he doesn't recover well either, and that's what got Rashawn Holmes in a ton of foul trouble too. And the one benefit that the Kings do have right now, because they didn't let go of Rashawn Holmes at that deadline, is they do have Holmes off that bench. He just needs to start stepping up and playing better. And it recently just came out, like after a conversation with Holmes, that he was going through a lot of things. And you'll know better than I will, Leo. You have a way closer connection.
His cousin passed away.
Right, like he's really going through it, and you know that can take an emotional drain. But we'll see. I really want to see what
he don't even
like
smile no more.
I
I'm not sure if you guys have noticed that. Just the joy of basketball. Like, he's not even smiling out there.
He doesn't scream when he grabs rebounds or gets fouled. He's not high-fiving. Really, like
he's down.
I think that just takes a huge effect. And the trade deadline was real. The wearing on him of
Facts.
Am I being traded?
He's never been the same since that eye injury, which is really affect because he has to wear goggles.
Then he had COVID.
You know how hard it is to wear anything on your face? Like, it's
and then
difficult.
He got COVID when he came back. He came back for 2 games, and he got COVID. He was out again. So I say just give this guy a little bit of a break. Let's see what this team looks like. This is going to be the final game before the All-Star break, too. Like, we're going to see how they look after only one real practice together. It's not like they practiced today. They're traveling, so they didn't practice today. They're going to have shoot-around tomorrow and then game time, and that's it. And then they're going to finally have a week off to really, like, process, train.
And for the new guys, find new homes, situate the family. Like, this is real life. Yeah, I don't think you guys understand that.
It's not just like, oh, you know, 2K, it should be working. Like, the fact that it's looked this good,
that's crazy,
should just give you a little bit of excitement for what you could possibly be receiving, even with Alvin Gentry at the helm. And by the way, can I ask you? I didn't mean to do this, but I wanted to ask this earlier and I forgot it. If the Kings make the play-in, what is the percentage you say that Alvin Gentry comes back as the Kings head coach?
That is the toughest question. We gonna save it for its own podcast. we have to, because that is just a turmoil, crazy, like so many variables.
Earlier.
It's crazy. Like, yeah, that's my worst nightmare. But thank you guys so much. On behalf of Vince and myself, everybody on the CK family, Basketball Zone family, we thank you guys, and we'll see you very, very soon. Peace.